Morning, my name is Kelly Hendricks and I'm here today to talk about learning environment. Let me present my slideshow. I really liked this saying, there is no single classroom seating arrangement that promotes positive behavioral and academic outcomes for all tasks, because the available research clearly indicates that the nature of the task should dictate the arrangement. And this is very true. Whatever task you are doing should dictate how you arrange your room. So for example 1, this is my current setup for my classroom. And in my research, it most closely resembles the circle or O-shaped layout. The tables are grouped by threes into a circle shape around the classroom. I chose this layout primarily because I needed to be able to fit 19 students into my class while still trying to keep some social distancing practices in place. But I also needed to still have plenty of room to move around the classroom. Leaving the circle more open allowed me to move around the classroom easier. I can move from, group of 3 to group of 3 with no major issues. So pros and cons of this example. The pros would be that power is distributed around the classroom. There is a lot of floor space. It's great for whole class discussion. It's great for group work, sets of 3 obviously. The cons for this setup is the person demonstrating in the middle of the classroom will always have their back to someone, which is very true, and sometimes I will sit up on the window ledge so that everyone can see me instead of standing in the middle. Another con is that it's difficult to see the screen for the students whose backs are to the screen, but they work around it pretty easily. It hasn't been a big issue. Okay, the circle or O-shaped classroom maximizes student learning by creating a space where students can have open discussions and collaborate with each other. It allows the students to work closely with one another and learn from each other. It allows the teacher to move around the classroom easily and talk to each student individually, as well as each group of students. And students work well in this relaxed and comfortable environment. Here is example 2. My example 2 and 3 are very similar. This classroom is set up in a very traditional fashion and most closely resembles the rows and columns design. One positive addition to this learning environment is that there are a couple of tables in the room that would be beneficial for social learning or group work and resource sharing. The walls seem a little bare in this classroom, making the learning environment not very welcoming, but on the plus side, there are minimal distractions. The pros to this setup are teachers are able to exert control in these environments. Lessons that rely on videos work well in this environment. Distractions are minimized, students are unlikely to cheat, and it is best for individual work or exams. The cons are social learning is very difficult. Students cannot learn from their peers. Resource sharing is difficult. Learning only takes place in isolation, and this is the worst setup for social learning. Rows and columns shaped classroom with round tables maximizes student learning by keeping students focused on what is happening at the front of the classroom. They are not easily distracted by their peers as they are sufficiently spread apart around the classroom. Students can focus on their individual work in this setup and can work independently of other students. And this classroom also has the option of placing students at the round tables in order for them to work collaboratively or work on project-based learning assignments. Example 3, as I stated, it's very similar to example 2, only this room does not have any of the round tables. So same pros and cons as last time, only it does not have the benefit of being able to work easily in groups. But I will say that with the tables, if I can go back here, these tables are easily moved and placed together to create groups quickly and then put them back. So that is a benefit to this setup. Again, it maximizes student learning by allowing students to focus primarily on their individual learning. They can all see the front of the classroom. They are not easily distracted, and they will be independent learners. My 4th example, this is a math classroom. This math classroom is set up in almost a stadium-like fashion. is the closest thing I could find, and the open window space provides lots of light for the students. Outdoor light is very beneficial for students. So pros and cons of a stadium setup. Pros are all students are looking directly at the central presentation area. Teachers can maintain control, and it is best for watching videos and presentations. Cons are it is hard to get students into small groups. Shorter students need to sit at the front so that others can see. Moving around the classroom can be a challenge, and it is worse for group work. The stadium-shaped classroom maximizes student learning by having all students facing the front of the classroom where they can easily see and participate in a lecture, presentation, or video, which is why it makes this the perfect setup for a math classroom. Even though the students may be sitting two at a table in some instances, the tables are plenty big enough for each student to have their own workspace, and this setup can also maximize student learning by letting students work in pairs or groups easily for collaborative and project-based learning. Example 5. This is a social studies classroom. This classroom most closely resembles the pair-up style of setup. Each table will hold between 2 to 4 students. This classroom is lacking subject-appropriate wall content, but props should be given for being minimalistic. Pros and cons of example 5. The teacher can control the students in this layout well. Students are all facing the same direction, making it easy to do front of class presentations and modeled teaching. This is not entirely true. The setup, some of them do have their backs to the wall, but they can slide around to the other side of the table fairly easily. And this is best for think, pair, share activities, as well as project-based learning group activities. Cons, there tends to be not much floor space, and it is the worst setup for free floor space. The pair-up style of classroom maximizes student learning by allowing students to have great group discussions. Students can also easily work on collaborative or project-based learning assignments. It appears that most students can also see the screen easily, and the teacher is able to move about the classroom easily and work with both individual students and small groups. My example 6 is my final example. This is a computer apps classroom. The pros of this classroom, well, let me go back. This classroom most closely represents the computer room style of setup. The walls are very bare. A positive of this classroom is that the teacher can see all the computer screens and the students can see the screen if they need to watch a video or presentation. Now let me get to the pros and cons. Pros are this prevents dangerous computer cables from running across open spaces. It makes it easy for teachers to look over the shoulder of the students as they work at computers, and it is best for computer use. Cons, students are all facing away from each other. When the teacher needs student attention, the students need to pivot in their chairs. There's little desk space left for handwritten or bookwork. Worse for group discussions, and moving around the classroom can be cumbersome. However, the computer room-shaped classroom maximizes student learning because each student has a station with their own computer. The teacher can see what all students are working on and be ready to assist as needed. The students can learn best this way because their teacher is always ready to offer assistance. Also, having one-to-one technology available is beneficial for students to maximize their learning and their use of time and technology. Okay. Okay, apologize for that. I had an interruption. Back on track here, I have 2 online examples, both very similar. They are both examples of one way that I would like to maybe set up my classroom for a time in the future. I really like how the tables are set up in this circular fashion. The setup is most like a workstations approach, and with the tables that I have in my classroom, I could very easily create this workstation approach. So pros and cons to the online examples. The pros are it's great for promoting social interactions. It encourages creativity. It prepares students for life. and it is best project-based discovery learning. The cons are it requires a lot of preparation. It is noisy and very busy. It is best with multiple teachers. It is difficult to help prepare students for tests, and it can cause stress for shy students. Finally, there's little personal space. However, the workstation-shaped classroom maximizes student learning by allowing students to collaborate in different workstations. This setup makes it easier for students to share with each other and to learn from one another. Learning or workstations also tend to give students more ownership in their work. Workstations can also offer more targeted learning. Finally, in addition to many different learning styles that can be used, there are many different learning styles that can be used throughout the work or learning stations. Here's a list of my references: 12 Classroom Layout Ideas and Seating Arrangements for 2021 by C. Drew, and Seating Arrangements that Promote Positive Academic Behavioral Outcomes by R. Wanarka and K. Rule. And this concludes my presentation on the learning environments. Thank you for listening, and have a great day.